Talked about their music before. I've had a lot of girlfriends that didn't like them. There's some girls who are obsessed with this strange band from the 1970s. Most of the stuff, bands I liked are actually from the 1970s, late 60s, mid 60s, 1970s. Of course, I can listen to music from 1930s or any time, or even 2018 or 17 or whatever. If it was 2018, but it's not yet. We're getting there. Whatever is good, but see, to me, the bands from the 70s were my favorite bands. And here is one called Sparks. Now, I've mentioned Sparks before. This was the first album I ever bought of Sparks. It's called Propaganda. When they just come out, and this is Ron and Russell Meal in a boat. Looks like they're being kidnapped. Just give the image of they're being kidnapped. And yeah. Anyway, I love the drummer Dinky Diamond and the band they had. This album Propaganda. It was the problem with the Sparks is they're a little ahead of their time as far as irony and humor in their songs. They're a couple of male models from Los Angeles, and they had a couple of albums which I also have the albums, the original albums. Wolfer and Tweeter's Clothing, and another one called Sparks, which was produced by Todd Rundgren a long, long time ago, in the early 70s, I believe. 1971, 1970. Those albums bombed, and both those albums were really good. They didn't have Dinky Diamond, some of the players they have in Propaganda, but it was a very, very good music too. It was because it was interesting, it was different. I always liked anything unique, interesting. And Russell Mayo, this guy here, that's Russell. He is he had a very high falsetto. They came out just before Queen. Queen came out just a little after Sparks. Sparks kind of paved the way in a sense, I guess. And of course, that's his brother. He does all the keyboards and the writing, the songs. He looked a little bit like a cross between Charlie Chaplin and Adolf Hitler. That's the image he had. And he scared girls. That's kind of cool. A band that scared girls, young girls, purity girls, and people. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So Sparks were, but yeah, there's a lot of people really liked them in the 70s. They had a cult following in the mid 70s, about 1975, 74. This is the first album I had, Propaganda. I was just nuts over Sparks when I was a kid. I had listened to all kinds of albums, music. I don't know what, I had just they were just different and unusual. And I liked unusual, unique stuff. The lyrical content was unique, and they're still going to this day. And Russell Nell says, that's this fella, the one brother, he says that they keep doing it because they like the audiences. They like the responses from the audiences. This album is 1974. Propaganda. Now I could talk about the album, the songs. I only have one copy of this, I guess. But I'm not going to go into detail in the songs of this yet. But if you listen to the songs, there's a lot of irony in the songs. The keyboardist doesn't like to write songs that are autobiographical in nature. He doesn't like autobiographical songs, so he claims. I disagree with that, but he doesn't personally like to write anything autobiographical. Now the second one I got was this one here, Come On Over My House, and I got a copy of this downtown, $5. Looks like I got a copy of it here. And of course you get a couple of Japanese girls in the front of it, and I think I've talked about this before too. I'm just going to mention these are the first two Sparks albums I had, and I stopped buying at a certain period of my life when I just got out of records altogether and was trying to do other things in my life. This also is around the same period, 1974. And there again, that's Russell when he was younger. They're a lot older now, and that's Ron Mail. They've just recently, as 2016, they're on the hit parade again. They've always had small hits in certain countries like France. They had a song called When I'm With You. And they've always had some hits maybe in Germany. And in England, they had a cult following in the 70s. Who else but England? England actually was the one who broke in Sparks because they always liked the weird and the unusual, and the English have a different, more eccentric taste for music. And here are the original members, and they're not all alive now, but Martin Gordon was bass player. Dinky Diamond, who actually is underrated drummer, was a good drummer, well underrated drummer, and Adrian Fisher. Now, this was the second lineup, these albums showing of Sparks, this new band that Sparks had. In the original albums, they didn't have these three, the first two albums, that is. This is the third and fourth albums of Sparks. And Come On My House, they had a hit there. It was pretty big called "This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us." There's a lot of good songs. I think Amateur might be a hit somewhere, Amateur Hour. And the songs I can go into, but it's time prevents. So I only got 10 minutes here. It's usually 10 minutes to talk about these albums. Minute that I spend on it. The one song I think is interesting is "Talent Is an Asset," which is another one that was quite popular in their concerts, which is a song about Albert Einstein, but people just don't get it. But it was about Albert Einstein. Anyway, so these are the first two albums I had of Sparks. Now, this one here is called Indiscreet. This was the third album they put out. And why I always go for certain kinds of bands is something unique or something odd about them. You can see the front cover of this one. They're in a car. They're in a plane crash, and there's Russell. He's there. Not an actual. Just they did this for a photo op. And there's the brother again. And of course, they're always doing the odd thing, writing unusual songs as usual, which is something Sparks are prone to. I guess they've just been for groceries. Anyway, here's their songs. Hospitality. The song that was kind of popular, which is really weird when I saw them on television, it was Don Kirsch, and it was really quite unique. I've never seen it on the internet or any place. They've got the song "Get in the Swing." It's one of those kind of wacky songs that only you can expect for Sparks. They call them the All-American Weirdos. But there was a version on Don Kirsch I saw when I was a teenager. It just really Russell in these sort of what you see here in the back here. He's in this like hunting sort of gear. Yes. So these are two brothers. Like I said, this is Russell and this is Ron, the male brothers, and it's the same lineup as the band. Now they changed their bands after this album, I think it was. It's still the same members of the band, but these three albums are pretty unusual. I mean, the songs are unusual too. In the Future was probably one of the faves on this one, and of course I go into all the songs, but the only Sparks would write certain titles and certain kinds of lyrics. They just had that humor. There was a real humor about their stuff. Of course, Paul McCartney imitated Sparks in one of his songs called "Coming Up." He imitated the keyboardist here. Ron, on his song "Coming Up," if you look for it, you'll find him doing the motions of the keyboardist, which is almost robotic when he's playing keys. He invented his own kind of persona, Ron. And Russell. Look at the fox hunting out. I guess this is in Los Angeles. I don't. This album was produced by Tony Visconti, who also produced David Bowie and a whole bunch of them. Come On My House was produced by Muff Winwood. Propaganda, I don't know. Who was that? Maybe it was Muff as well. But like I said, their earliest stuff was produced by Todd Rundgren. Their first Sparks album, he took them on, I guess. Doesn't say who the producer of this one is. I have to look inside it. Anyway, this is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Sparks, they're mine. I really obsessed with. I still think they make good music. I still think they've gone techno. They've went all kinds of different styles. They've changed their styles. Russell always has the same falsetto, high pitched voice. And everybody gets thought he must be gay or something. I don't think he's gay. What I don't care about sexuality, but I mean, he has that high falsetto voice. I think, what an odd voice this guy, high falsetto. And Russell actually finds it a little bit painful actually singing that voice. Something along that line he said in an interview once. But the thing about Sparks is he has that unusual voice, that high falsetto that some can stand and others can't. What makes them unique, and their sound unique, and their songs unique, and their lyrics unique, and full of irony and fun. And nothing to take them serious by. That kind of thing. So anyway, these are my recommendations. You try to get these albums or CDs Indiscreet. This is the early Sparks for just an introduction. Come On My House, and of course Propaganda. I had these when I was a teen. I'd recommend these to anybody pretty well, because these albums are give you all the weirdness of Sparks. The lyrics go really fast, and you really need these inside sleeves to actually get the lyrics. There weren't any inside lyrics to come on my house in the sleeves. There was, of course, to indiscreet, and there was to propaganda, but it's easier to get the lyrics, the humor behind them if you can see them in the inside sleeves. Okay, that's my recommendation. I want to with that was my teens. I was very very young, my young teens, when I had these albums. Not everybody's particular taste, but they're still going, and I really recognize bands with staying power and uniqueness, and they seem to keep going even into old age. These bands, and good bands generally do. Yeah, they've got something to offer, something kind of odd or weird. Not everything they do is going to suit people's taste, but Sparks always have that certain kind of a sound, a certain kind of a persona that they've developed over the years, and humor that attracts audiences all the time, all over the world. Some people hate them. Certainly, if you're into one style or one kind of music, you're going to hate them. But if you're like me and you like all kinds of music and all kinds of different styles of music, and I mean everything. I like a little bit of everything. I'm not big on rap or hip hop, any of that kind of stuff, but some of it's okay. But you'll find that you find something interesting in developing a palette for different kinds of styles and artists. As long as it's unique and different, I can generally listen to it, but there's some stuff I gravitate towards. And I guess not only do they have a cult following at one time, but I still gravitate towards Sparks music even today. They've released some interesting stuff. Like since Little Beethoven was one of the last CDs I got. I haven't got it on albums. I'd like to get Little Beethoven an album, but yeah, that's them in their old age doing. They've got another one called Hippopotamus and Igmar Bergman. Great stuff by Sparks. Look it up, check it out. You might find it interesting. I hope they appreciate me giving my recommendation. Jeez. Okay.